All right, what's up? Happy Monday. Welcome back. Hi, Jen.
Hi.
We are talking about staffing and retention.
Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun. We
I feel like people hate
are.
the word retention. I don't know.
We're talking about client retention, though, right? Not like retention of like staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We're talking about like staffing issues, getting staff, and then yes, client retention. And then I guess things to think about that
Uh,
maybe you aren't.
yeah, I feel like every time we talk to a salon or go to like a group thing or whatever, employees are. I'm going to do that the whole show now. Staffing is the most.
A number one.
Yeah, the number one thing, the biggest issue, right? People have. So where do we want to kick things off? Do you want to talk about like what we do, or
Yeah, sure.
it's
I'll
probably
even
easiest because it's just what we do?
yeah. So I'll talk about how I used to sort of my mindset and then where it is today. So going from like putting it in the universe, and I think I would pray all the time, like, I hope that one person's waiting for me at the door when I walk into my salon and they're going to change my life. And that's never actually going to happen. And it's not realistic. So instead, we take a proactive approach here at Hello, and we are always hiring or always open to a conversation about hiring. So what we do at Hello now is over the last year, we have gone to the local schools. We'll be part of their career days, which means we get to meet a lot of people. I think the last time I went to like 140 people, meet and greet and hello and whatever go by. And then we interview from there. And then, usually find one, two, maybe three people that align with what we're looking for. And then we start the process of having them assist, which gives us time to realize sort of their strengths, their weaknesses, if they're going to be a good fit on both ends. And then from assisting, slowly getting them onto the floor with passing of doing models. And some of them come on and can do everything. And then some of them come on and maybe need a different approach for some of their weaknesses technically. And then they'll work on models until they can perform those services.
The individual process, because I know you touched
Yes.
on it, but we don't bring in a group and then everybody's working on. Well, I mean, they might start at the same point, but
their education plan is individual to them.
Yeah, it's not like 6 weeks of this and then 8 weeks of this and then 12 weeks.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's what the person actually needs.
Right. And they can test out of anything as quick as possible. Or for some, if getting models becomes a problem, it might just take them a little bit longer to test out of the things that they need to pass in order to perform on clients when we're not there or are there. But for me, the mindset becomes if I'm not in the salon and I know, they're busy with whatever services are booked that day, I don't want to be stressed that something's going to fall short. So there needs to be a performance level from how clean they are and technically how skilled they are. The whole process has to be there so that we're putting out the right work, or we're putting out the right services for them, and so that they can perform at the level expected under our roof.
Yeah.
That was a long-winded answer.
That's
And
cool.
of course,
I'm just kidding.
the other part, yeah, the other thing, it's always nice if we can find people that maybe have a little bit of a skill set and you don't have to train them from the bottom up. But like we were talking earlier, that can also present different issues. I know as an owner, sometimes people like, if I just found someone who had a clientele, I'd be all set. And maybe you'd be all set because they have clients, but maybe you wouldn't because they come with other issues, which is some bad habits or things that like maybe they don't want to change. It doesn't work in your culture. So
even we've seen in the past, like even some like a sense of entitlement. Like,
yes, absolutely.
Experience like you're welcome instead of it being a mutual thing where we're
Right.
also allowing you to be here.
Correct. And I think if you're in a position where most are, I mean, we see it all the time where, we're hiring. The other part to that equation that I think is, I guess, equally as important is you need to be ready to fire also. We went through, maybe not last year before, we really needed to build our team. And that meant hiring and firing a decent amount of people. Some interview well and they come in and they say they want everything we're offering. And then when we get into certain scenarios, their actions speak way louder than anything they said that came out of their mouth. And it's pretty easy to see quickly that they're not a good fit. And so those we let go. And I say that because I came from a place where I felt like if it didn't look good from a business standpoint if you were always having turnover. But also, if you don't take risks and bring in new people, like you're going to have turnover. It's just part of the business. And you have to be okay with that and don't keep people longer than they may fit whatever it is you're trying to do. So, as much as you need to hire, you also need to be ready to pull the trigger if you've hired some people and they're not fitting your brand, your culture, your mission, your vision, all the things we talk about, letting them go. And letting someone go doesn't have to be this huge thing. Like some people will, I've had people reach out like, well, what do I say? I just say you're just not a good fit for our team. Doesn't mean you're not for someone else's, just not for what we're putting out.
Yeah, you're definitely a fit somewhere. Everybody is.
Yeah, there's
It's
so many salons.
yeah. So why is it such an issue though? Why are so many people struggling? So we get out in the community and stuff. I'm sure other people do that. Like the last event we went to, there were a lot of like booths or businesses represented there.
Mm-hmm.
I know
I think
not all salons are getting out there. Maybe like is that part of it? Is some do you think that there's a group of people that is just sitting around like waiting for some magical
oh, I would imagine because I think I was that part like 10 years ago, not under Hello,
gotcha.
my last salon. I definitely just expected people would find us, not even, I don't even think I was putting out anything to attract what we were even, I don't even think I knew what I was looking for. So if you
Yeah.
don't know what you're looking for and you're just looking for a service provider that can do services, like, well, most can do services, whether it's to your level or not. But if you don't really define what your hiring process looks like and what the people you want to attract into your business looks like, then I mean, you're literally just sitting there praying for something that's never going to happen, or you're not going to attract the right thing. And then now you're back in that position of you're going to have to let people go. Again, totally cool. But at least if you have what your hiring process looks like and who you're trying to attract, then it makes it really easy to, in that hiring process, bring in the right person. And if they're not, it's very clear quickly that they're not, and you don't feel bad about it. You're just like, this just doesn't fit what we're trying to put out. It's not a big deal. When I actually will say that over the last years, if I've had to let people go, all of them thank me. Like, I'm just like, you're just not a good fit for what we're trying to do. I wish you the best of luck. And they're like, thank you so much. And generally, we're put down as a reference for their next salon. Like, it's
Yeah.
not, there's nothing, I guess I just look at it differently. There's nothing wrong with it. And we want to protect also the culture that we are growing in our salon. So that is part of that process too.
I think a big part of it, I think you nailed it too. It just clicked in my head. Maybe people just aren't defining or they're not clear
Mm-hmm.
on what they want from like the ground up. Like if you,
Right.
it's also, if you don't have like systems and stuff in place, it's difficult for people to picture themselves there if they don't know what to expect. So if
Right.
you don't tell them, they have no choice but to make up something in their head where they
Right.
think it's going to be great or it's whatever, you know?
Yeah. So it does start, it starts with whoever it is hiring and
Yeah.
what are you looking for? And what, like you said, like what are your systems? What does that process look like?
Yeah. Even what does your hiring process look like?
Mm-hmm.
We've slowed things way down. So we
Yeah.
have made some mistakes in the past where you sort of make these snap decisions because you think someone's great, kind of hire them on the spot, and then they turn out to be not so great.
Mm-hmm.
So now you have to move them along, you know?
Right. And I think if you do have a system and a way that you do hire, if you end up letting them go and you know you've gone through all your systems,
Yeah.
it just makes more sense. Where you're right, when I've made snap decisions and sometimes it's just like we need to hire some people. And when it's ever been done in a quicker process than what our process is, because I'm just being a spaz and that happens because it's human nature and it's how I operate at times, unfortunately. Those have never led to good hirings. And it just is what it is. That's why we have a system. That's why we have a process so that we're treating the people equally, like as what they deserve. And then again, like it's very clear. I think those people know when it's coming because I'm sure they can see it's not a good fit.
Yeah, you've got to be careful. And I would say hire, like, if you need bodies in your business for, like, to meet number, like, to break even, you have to do what you have to
Mm-hmm.
do if you're fighting for a business. But when you get to a point where that's not maybe an everyday issue, you really want to take your time with hiring and create sort of a process so that whatever it ends up looking like, it's designed to like guide you through, like you're saying. I feel like
Mhm.
I'm saying in a lot of words, but not arriving at a point. You
I
think
mean, I
that's
get your
funny?
point, even if there wasn't one. Well, that's because I'm a wordy speaker.
We used to do, I guess,
I bet.
really quick hires. Not all the time, but there was some of those. And then what we've done now is like if we meet with someone or we have a phone call or whatever, sometimes it's just one of us meeting, but we make sure
Mhm.
that we both have met the person or both have at least
Yes.
spoken to the person. And then we connect on it and go through it together. So it provides
Yes.
time where you have to slow down. There's no possibility of
Yes.
me being like, this person's great. I'm hiring them. Jen's going to love them. So it doesn't matter. There's no chance because of the way
Mhm.
we've set it up is I have to go back and talk to you first and you have
Right.
to talk to the person.
And
So
that also creates so that when we are hiring people, they realize or hopefully see firsthand by our actions how we are as leaders and how you and I are as business partners together, right? We're husband and wife. So I'm sure at some level that could be intimidating because we're a couple. But when you'll even ask our staff, like when we're hiring, I wouldn't say anybody even realizes that because we treat our hiring as professionals and as business owners. And like you said, we might meet individually, but then at some point we're always meeting together. So they understand even how we operate together too. And they see that, when we're with them. And we've also had to innovate and pivot on ways that we hire. There was a point where I think a few years ago, we really needed to build our team. And timing with little kids just isn't everything. So we were using FaceTime and Zoom to make our like first meeting with them. So it was almost like, is it worth it to have the next meeting and them come see our salon and meet us in person? And it was a way for us to meet a lot of people and get a feel for them really quickly with the two of us and with they could get a feel for us too. And then what was the next steps? Like you said, we've sort of slowed down. Our team is, pretty full, so our approach is different in the last few months of how it was previously. But I think also as an owner or anyone who's got a business, you may have years that look different than others. Our systems are the same in sort of how we approach it, but it depends on what we're trying to get out of it for that year, for that business year.
do you think we've covered enough about hiring or should we talk about anything else before we move on to retention?
I would say I think we've covered it.
So
I think the biggest thing is getting systems, right? And
yeah,
defining what hiring looks like to you and then defining what are you trying to attract for what does that perfect service provider look like under your roof?
yeah, and that's the biggest part of it for me is knowing. So obviously, people are different, but there are archetypes of people. There are people with different skill sets, and we look for some of that
Mhm.
stuff for our team because of the way we operate our business on the day to day. We need people that need very little micromanaging. So
Mhm.
we need people that are not, we're not expecting you to come on and be perfect. That's not a thing. It's not where our mind is, but we are expecting to see progress and quick progress and not
Mhm.
even
Yeah.
technical. But it's like you mentioned earlier, a huge part of our business is just working clean. You have to be clean.
Yeah.
So if you're not, it's not a good fit. So you might want people that, depending on your like target clientele, you're going to need people that are able to deal with those types of people. We like to, like, we have a lot of like business professionals, a lot of business owners. Like, there's an
Mhm.
expectation that they have. So when we bring on staff, it's on us, right? It's
Right,
not
to
the
get them to
person.
perform at that level.
Yeah, to get them to a level that's acceptable for our clientele, which
Mhm.
luckily enough we already figured out. But again, if you haven't figured that stuff out, you don't know who you're
You
looking
need
for.
to. Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, maybe you need somebody with more skills in one area, like soft skills. You have to have conversations with people if like that's part of it as well. Like and again, some stuff can be taught, but some stuff it's easy to see. And
Yeah.
some things I think you can identify in people that like they don't care. They're not going to improve that thing that you're hoping they would.
Right.
So you hold on to them thinking like, if I can just fix this one thing, they'd be great. And then it's more work down the road because you know it's not going to work, but you don't want to get
Yes.
rid of the
And
person.
now you're already
Hire
invested in the
somebody new.
person, so you're like,
Yeah.
"Yep."
All right.
I think too
Let's
this
okay.
this
Go ahead.
last hire real quick, what we looked at was the skill sets that were missing in our current team. So we needed, and they were coming out of school. So they don't maybe don't know, but certain things that they were like, I want to do more of this. I want to do more of that. I really want to get better at this. And it was that kind of helped put people in places that we were like, okay, I can teach that. And we need people doing those services. So that was just a different approach in our hire to fill in the technical parts of Hello that we wanted more people doing certain services.
Good. Let's
Good.
talk about retention, dude.
Let's do it.
So
I like this one, actually.
retention is important. Now we're talking about clients. Your retention, though, we talked about this earlier, that's just one number.
Right. If you're looking at it just from a number standpoint, or if you're looking, I feel like when people hear the word retention, they just think the numbers of retention, like who's coming back in, how many times are they being serviced, are they seeing the same person? But I think we were talking about this, like there's so much more to retention than just the numbers. That's only one part of what you should be looking at.
Okay. What else should we be looking at? So say you have somebody on your team and they just can't hold on to clients.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do? What do you recommend? How do you coach that person?
I'd probably need to observe them in the salon with these clients, like what's sort of missing. And generally what I would expect to find is that they most likely need to work on their consultation, and they most likely need to work on connecting with those clients more than anything else.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I'm sure there's some technical stuff there too, but those are probably the two things that are missing.
yeah. So this business, everyone can give a decent haircut. So it's
Yeah.
like the
And people are
clients,
used to just really mediocre work.
yeah. So the clients aren't as picky as you are. Like I saw a barber, I think, post this recently, and he was like, they don't have the same eye. They're not looking at your haircut the same way you are.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So if you can get your haircuts to be decent and you can
Mm-hmm.
work on those other things. And I was going to say too, consultation. That's why I went like this, because that's where
Nice.
it starts when the person sits down
Mm-hmm.
in your chair. What are you doing besides just saying the service they booked to get
Right.
them to feel some sort of connection and then
Yes.
some sort of level of like comfort?
Right. I think that word's huge, the word comfort, because I know a lot of people are anxious about coming into salons and barbershops, and it's not comfortable for them. So how do you take that level of anxiety and bring it down to an area where they're just like kind of melting in your hands type thing? And that consultation piece is how you get them from how they felt when they first walked in to like sort of coming in, and like you can see the breath that comes in and like releases, and they're
Yeah.
like happy to be there and like do your work, type thing.
Yeah, I think we've noticed that through the years, and I've noticed it too. When you have a newer person that you're training, or anybody really, if they're nervous, that shows. And then how do
Absolutely.
you want that person, or how do you expect that person to sit there and not be nervous because you're nervous?
Right.
So working on some skills with people, like having
Hmm.
conversations, like smiling, like just put a smile on your face.
Hmm.
That helps turn people's moods. And you're communicating with them visually, but you haven't even spoken yet,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
Um, do you want to take us through any specifics with consultation, or do you want to move on to?
I think with consultation, for me, what I look for the staff and what I coach to is sort of asking, like you said, not what service you're booked for, like what brought you in today? Like, so I let them, like, what brought you in today is so many different things. And you could get so many responses of how they feel or what they're looking to feel, or something about the salon that brought them in that gives you an idea of like what their experience was expected. It will tell you so many stories, and it's such an open-ended question that's not just like, oh, you're getting a haircut today? Like, yep, yeah, I'm getting a haircut today. Rather, like what brought you in is like, well, I want a haircut, but I would love to add this on, and I was hoping to do this, and I saw your salon on Instagram and it looked so pretty, and then, oh, let me give you a tour, like if you didn't do that, or like whatever brought them in. Now you can incorporate that part of their story to the service you're giving, right? Or just like, I just had a baby and I'm feeling all this. Then you're like, you know what? This shampoo, I just need you to relax and I'm going to massage your head. And you're going to feel so great. And then we're going to get into this haircut. But so you can offer so much more by just like what brought you in and then really listening to what they tell you from that point. And that's their first of like, most people don't feel like anyone listens to them. So if you can give them
Yeah.
that little bit, you've already like reeled them right in and really listen. That's kind of where it's at. I had a newer client the other day, it was Saturday, and I know her through the school, but what brought you in? Because I wasn't sure what we were doing for a color. I let her talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And so then, we were in such a good spot. She's like, do whatever you want. And I said, so what I'm hearing you say though, like you need low maintenance, minimal. You may not be in here again till next year. So I think what we need to do is blah, 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 blah. Right. Cause I have to feed that back. Cause maybe she'd be like, yes, I did say that, but I'm looking for this extravagant exchange of hair or change of hair, whatever. And then we may consult further, but I'm like, kind of coming back from what she just told me, right? And it also shows I was listening. Like with the
Yeah.
job you have, you need this, you need this. Like, so I think, and if you can't see me for another 6 months, I don't want your hair to look like crap in a month, So let's do the hair so that in 6 months it still looks pretty decent. But another way to connect, like it's those little touch points that make them feel really special or that you are listening to them.
A lot of times I don't even talk about the hair in the beginning at all.
Yeah.
How's it going? How's your family? How's the kids? Things like that. Work, if I know what the person does for work, or if that's,
Hmm.
something that you can integrate. And it's just, you connect with people because unless you're like a speedy barber shop that's like, in and out,
Right.
like by asking about somebody's work, by asking about somebody's family, it's a connection because you have
Hmm.
those things too. So it's, how are your
Right.
kids? Oh, they're great. They went through this or whatever, or we did this fun thing over the weekend. What about you guys? What have you been up to? And now you're having a conversation that's very easy to
Yes.
have because you have a connection. You have like a bond.
And that will get people coming back over and over and over again,
Yeah.
even if your hair services are not up to par.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's
It's
how you
amazing.
start out. When you start out, you're not up to par. I mean, you're up to par, but
Yeah.
you're
I have
just out
clients
there
for the
hacking
last
each other.
25. Right. So Mike, I have clients that have been with me for 25 years. 25 years is the whole length of my career, which means the beginning of my career, my hair journey with them, I was shit. There was nothing good I was coming out with because I was brand new. But they're still with me today from my shitty ass hair I was giving them to my wonderful hair I'm giving them now. But what I gave them this whole entire time was conversation, connections, and that's what drives me anyway. Like that's what's fun for me. But it couldn't have been about the hair in the beginning because there was nothing good about it at all.
How do you break a habit? And we didn't talk about this, so maybe this is for another show, but
Ooh.
how do you break a habit of somebody that maybe they're flustered, or maybe because I've seen our staff do this, like walk over to a client and just say, because everybody makes mistakes, right? Our staff makes mistakes.
Yep.
We make mistakes, but like walk over and be like, so we're lightning today. And then like not really listen because they're already trying to figure out what they're going to go mix.
Hmm.
Like, how do you break
So
that sort of habit? Because if you don't, like, if that's how you're starting the service and you're wondering why people aren't coming back, that could very well be it.
yeah, there's a few things you can do as if that's you, you're like, that's me. Or you go over to someone, you're like, same as last time, right? Like that doesn't open a conversation. If I'm your client, I'm nervous to say anything new because it seems like you're too busy to deal with me. So I'm like, yep, same as last time. So some of the stuff that I coach with our staff is like, if they're feeling overwhelmed, go grab a sip of water, take a
Yeah.
deep breath. Or let's say you said to that blonding client, same blonde as last time, right? And they just say, yeah. You're going over to mix and you're now this podcast now is in your head. You're like, why did I just say same blonde as last time? Why didn't I talk to them? There's nothing wrong with pausing in what you're doing, going back over to that client and be like, you know what? Can we just talk through this a little bit? I don't even know why I'm rushing you. Did you like the blonde last time? Like what are we on the same page here? That would be so appreciated. So if you're like, why did I just do that? Why am I rushing? Take a sip of water, go back over and be like, let's talk through this. So I know we did this blonde. Did you like it the whole time? Was it good from beginning to end? Like just ask a couple open-ended questions, right? Were you thinking of changing anything? Let them talk. So regrouping yourself at some of those moments, because there's always like when you leave the client to go mix, to grab your towel, to grab your cape, you have all moments to rethink, did I really consult? Let's say you even get over to drape them and you've already mixed. Be like, I never even asked if you wanted to change it at all. So let's talk about that because I can mix something else up. Like, let's just have that conversation. And I think until you change the ways you approach you're going to keep being the robotic self. So I think if you can do it in the beginning and maybe you put something on your station that is a flag that says consultation, like
Slow down.
something that stops you in your track and makes you slow down. Or like I said, in some of those things when you're getting yourself ready, if you haven't really consulted, just take a minute and go back over and have it. It's the game changer, and it's very, very necessary for success and long-term success.
I think the options thing is huge. I think that you need to make people aware that they even have options. They might not know. They
Hmm.
might just be like, "Oh, this is how my hair is." Period.
Right.
This is the
Right.
blonde that I get. This is the color that I get when I ask for this.
Yep.
I think it's important to go through all of that stuff.
And so we had a situation actually on Saturday. A client came in and was like, I only want you, like, basically was like, I only want color in my hair for blonding. I don't want you to use any powder lighteners or whatever. And I think as a newer stylist, you just listen to the client. You think they know what they want. So you do what they say, right? Like, this is every salon I went to, they just
This is
use
hilarious.
color to blonde me.
This is the note I'm making right now to get to.
Oh, really?
You're done talking. I'm
So
actually listening to you, so I
this
realize that.
this same client, every time someone does what she asks, is then upset with her result. So it's up to us to question. So if you don't know any better, you could go ask someone to come over and talk to the client with you. Or I would ask the client, like, why do you only want me to use this? Can you show me a picture of what you're looking for? Because if they show you a picture and it's very different than what they're telling you you can or cannot use on their head, that would be super easy to change your consultation. Like, you want your hair white. I can't get it white with color. So we either need to change your picture to what it's going to look like with color, or we need to change the way I'm going to formulate and I need to use different products. And that would change that right away. And that's before you go mix and all that. But just because someone asks for something doesn't mean that they really even understand. It's like when someone come in now, when the word balayage was
Jesus.
used, right? Like, I want a
My
balayage.
next point.
Like,
When people come
oh
in, I
gosh.
was gonna say when
I'm
people
just,
come in with buzzwords and you go, "That's,"
yeah,
because I've heard staff that are like, this client really wants a balayage. Why? Ask them why before you
right.
do anything.
So
Why did you book that service?
totally,
What do you think you're getting out of that? Because a lot of times, like you just said, they don't know. A client
they
has no
don't
clue. They don't know what you
know.
like. You're a professional, whether you're
Hmm.
right out of school, whether you're in school, or whether you are 20 years in.
Hmm.
You know more than the average person is going to know
Right.
about hair. So you're
Yeah.
going to be able to provide them with more insight and more information, and don't just roll with whatever they book. So they book a balayage, they come in and you're like, all right, I'm going to balayage you. Like,
Right. And you
first,
get going and they're like, wait, why aren't you doing it this way? What are you like?
right.
Well, you asked for this. So I always am like, show me a picture of what you're looking for. Don't tell me how to do my job. I will achieve what you want with the technique that I'm going to use. And you can call it whatever you want. I don't care. For a long time, I saw clients coming in with like toner formulas. Like, I don't need you to tell me what to tone the hair with because you don't know what the hair's lifting to. So what I need you to show me is, what do you want the final result to be? And then we can talk about if we can get there, and I'll figure out the toner that will get you there if that's what's needed.
Yeah, but this
So I
person
think it's
posted an Instagram
I,
picture
I
and
know.
saying
And
the
it's so, and
formula.
as sometimes as a service provider, you get flustered when someone's like telling you how to do your job. So like, they must know. They don't fucking know. They don't. I'm sorry. Even if they're an ex hairdresser, they do not know. And you're the one that's currently doing their hair. So you need to figure out how to meet in the middle of what they're telling you to do with their vision and what you are capable of doing and what your vision is. And that's a real conversation and a real consultation of like, okay, I hear what you're saying. This is how I would approach it. And if your approach is not their approach, maybe they should set someone else's chair in your salon. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's truly making sure you're both on the same page. And I think a lot of times that's the miss in the consultation, because people get nervous. They feel like they don't know what they're doing because somebody's requesting something that they're not understanding. But it's your job to figure out what they're truly asking for.
Yeah, if you're out there listening, stop formulating before the client's even there.
Yeah,
Stop doing that.
that's
Doesn't
not
even
even a
make
thing.
sense. Don't
Have fun with it.
Yeah, don't you don't have to rush. Slow down, grab a
Nope.
seat, sit down,
Yeah.
open a
Grab a
seltzer.
sip of water,
Yeah.
or like put something on your station to remind you to, like you said, chill down and calm down and take a minute and look at it from the perspective of like, you're so lucky to be having a new client sit in your chair. Like, what can you do to make this experience exceptional for them so that they will want to come back and make it fun for you too?
Yeah, if you can get that down and if you can look at this as a service industry and you're serving this
Yeah,
person and you can connect with them and you can turn them into a 25-year client and you look at the
amazing.
price of your haircut times however many times they're coming in per year
Mhm.
times 25 years, that's a potential lot of money.
Right,
So when you
right,
start looking at a client as not like your $50 haircut or whatever, but you start looking them as like tens of thousands of dollars over the course of,
right.
it starts to be different. I went through that exercise with some staff in the past and they were blown away. They were like, I've never looked at it that way. Yeah,
And if you
so figure out I know a lot of people don't like numbers, but too bad. Here we go. Figure out the
part of it.
average lifetime value of
Mhm.
each client that walks through your door, and then you will treat
And start
people
looking
differently.
at them for that whole time,
Yeah.
yeah.
The other thing, quickly, I feel like you had mentioned atmosphere. If you're
Yes,
My little volume thing's not on. Interesting.
I can hear you.
Okay. But I don't know if I'm recording. Anyways, if you're wondering why people aren't staying, maybe you should look internal first. What is your space? Does it need to be
Absolutely.
updated? Do you need to step up cleaning? Do you need to sit in your salon or come into your salon almost with a cold eye, like as a client?
Yeah,
Come in and don't look at all the stuff that you want.
mhm.
Look at what would appeal to the public, to clients.
Even sit in the chair that you're having them sit in. What do they see? Look around. Like, what are they seeing, like, that's at their eye level? Because it's different when you're standing at that chair, too. I think also, and some of this is out of people's control, but I think it's important to note, who are your coworkers? What are they doing around you? What
Yeah.
are they saying? How do they make people feel? All of this is part of retention, whether you like it or not. The salon atmosphere of the actual like look of the salon, the culture in the salon, the ambiance of the salon, all of that is part of retention. It's not just the numbers. Like I said, consultation is huge, right? But all of these other things are part of it. When someone leaves a salon, it's not generally just one thing. It's all of these things put together. And it's easy to say, well, I can't help what my coworkers say. Well, you can and you cannot. Who's leading the salon? Like
Yeah,
who
sure you can.
what's going on? What conversations are we having? Like if they're not appropriate, somebody should be saying something. If you're not able to keep clients because of what's going on around you, then somebody needs to be changing something or you need to change your where you are currently doing hair. Like because it will affect your retention
Yeah,
whether you like it or not.
definitely. Anything else?
That's all I got.
All right, that's cool. All right, we'll
All
see you
right.
next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye.